What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. Happy Thursday. Not another happy Wednesday, guys. I just want to start it off with just, I'm trying to keep it pretty real. I'm pretty frustrated. The Roby scratch last night, 8 minutes after lock. I know there was some suspicion because people posted something about him not being in the warm-up line. Look, guys don't come out late for the warm-up line all the time. Last week, people were trying to get us not to play Embiid because he wasn't in the warm-up line. He came out and put up 70 fantasy points. Anyway, I'm just tired between that and Durant and what happened the other day. There's so many of these things that just keep crushing me, and it's frustrating. Every night I decide to play big, I feel like I end up getting 80% of my lineups. That was like 80%, like just hammered away. 50% across both sites, but 80% overall. Anyway, end of rant. Ready to move on to tonight. Sheets, you want to talk a little about last night and get ready for tonight?
Yeah. So the same thing. I had probably 80% Roby on DraftKings. And the most important thing, I really think that you were hitting on, and that's what I asked you. I mean, is there anything that I could have done about? And that's the only thing that I always think about is
no.
Like the guys get late scratched, and there are people that are on top of it that swap in and out. And they get all the
I am that person. I am that person, and that you can't do it off of nothing. You know what I mean? And
that's what I'm asking. As long as there was nothing I could have done, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like as long as I didn't get outworked by somebody, right? Like sometimes, and I think about this, like NBA, but I know I'm getting into it. NBA, I know I'm not going to be as on top of stuff as a lot of people, and that's just an edge that I've just decided to give up. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather give up that edge than not play. You know, and obviously I'm not maximizing my utility playing that way, but I just made that trade-off, that every once in a while people are going to get on Etuan Moore, for example, from a couple of days ago when I'm not. And that's just the way it's going to be, I guess. But if there's something that I could have done with very little effort and I don't do it, that pisses me off. But last night, considering, as you're saying, that there really wasn't too much you could have done about it, even if you were working hard, then it doesn't, you can't really let that bother you too much.
But also working hard is relative. Like, because if you hear he's not in the starting lineup, that didn't bother me the slightest bit at all.
No.
I didn't expect him to be in the starting lineup. I thought they start Kenrich when the Lakers announced they were starting Kuzma. And then with the layup line thing, we've had this happen over and over again where people are always suspicious about it since the COVID stuff. And it's never turned out to be a thing except for this time. I mean, really, we had Embiid with this last week. So I do think that, but also like, what is working hard? Like, are you supposed to sit there on every team's Twitter and constantly refresh all day until every game starts? Doesn't seem like the best use of time to keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, we talked about this yesterday. We were talking about to Crane, right? So that's a variable that, and we could talk for hours about this because I think about this a lot, about the variable of time and the worthness, what time is worth and whatever is worth. And the cutthroat answer is if you're playing enough money, you should have somebody like an intern, honestly, like doing that every day.
Can I counter this? I totally disagree, because I think all you're going to do is run into a bunch of theories and ideas, and maybe this is happening because of this, and you're going to end up getting so bogged down in that you're going to forget about the good plays.
Could be.
So that's where I think you actually could do yourself a huge disservice by doing that.
It's very, very possible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share with you. I have a worse beat. Now again.
Okay, now go for it. Let's hear it.
Beats are relative in some sense to circumstance and relative to, like if there's somebody who is worth like $2 and they have like a 50-cent bet on something, and they lose that, I consider that like a really bad beat. Like for example, right? So he doesn't know I'm putting this on, but so my son is kind of like an aspiring degenerate. I mean, like he's working on it. He's learning how to. He's betting 100-team parlays. You know what I mean? Like just like the worst way you can bet or whatever it is. And he dabbles in the stock market. As forever his BR is like a freshman in college, right? Which isn't much, I have to tell you. But every once in a while, man, I mean, he puts together like, his string, man. He'll do like a 16 parlay, this, and he doesn't really do work on it. He doesn't really work, he's just kind of just gambling and doing whatever. So I'm going to share my screen with you. He had, and you might not get it right from looking at it, but he had, and he doesn't know I'm showing this, so screw him. He had a parlay, $14 to win 2,000. All he needed was OKC to hang on for the outright win.
Oh, oh my God.
He had all these other teams somehow come in, and he had a 20-point lead with Oklahoma City. And the lead down the stretch, $14 to win 2,000.
Oh my goodness. That's quite a ROI right there.
That's a rough one. That's a lot
rough,
of beer. That's a lot of beer money, man.
Was he pissed, or is he like you? It doesn't have any emotional attachment.
He doesn't have any emotional attachment, and yet he was pissed. That's how bad. I think when he was texting me, I think he might have been a little bit drunk, which is why he was a little bit whatever. But he's like kind of worse than me. Like so like Matt, like he like he'll like he'll pitch like the final out to win like the Little League championship, and people will be mobbing him. They'll say, "Okay, Dad, can I get some ice cream now?" You know what I mean? and then like he'll like strike out to lose like the championship. He's like, "Dad, can I get ice cream now?" You know what I mean? He's pretty psycho when it comes to that. But
we are total opposites on this particular thing. My kids aren't like that. I'm not like that. I'm just competitive on our side of it.
But yet on the other hand, here's another thing though, is that I don't know what thread was on this the other day, but when it comes to getting successes, whatever, when I was younger, I used to be like, I would rub it in, I would run through and pump my fists and get really not mad when I lose, but also really celebrate. Like the whole world knew when I won something, honestly. And then it's funny, when I got into like 30s or whatever, I like transitioned. I became like the Barry Sanders guy, Yeah. Gotta go in, flip the thing, don't rub it in. It's just all successes is whatever. I'll tell you, man, as you get older, it becomes the opposite. You start to really like want to start flexing again. Like when you realize, all glory is fleeting, man. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you play poker tournaments and somebody won, dude, you better freaking celebrate, because it can be a long time before another celebration.
What's funny is I think celebrating is actually healthier, like a healthy way.
I agree.
We're doing this. But at the same time, it's funny because as I've gotten older, I've done this. I've never been, though, it's not that I'm a bad winner. I'm not a guy who flexes and throws it in your face. I am a terrible loser. Like, I'm just, yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyway, well, let's jump into tonight's slate. We're right back at it. One thing that's great about the NBA these days is I wake up and I feel like, I don't even want to do this today because it's frustrating and getting this happening, that happened. You feel like you're getting unlucky. But there's good slates every day, and they're all good slates.
No. Let me explain something to you. This slate tonight listen, I root for you, dude. I mean, I really do.
It's a year slate.
But you cannot win this slate.
Why? You can't score enough points?
Because there's nobody scoring more than 250 points tonight. This is like the ugliest, worst slate of the year, and it is right. It is Sheet City, baby. I'm telling you. That's my initial take, and I'm loving it.
Well, with that in mind, that's an important. I love that. It's a good distinction. Like, one thing I want to put out, though, that's a really good point that he's making. So if we really feel like it's going to be a low-scoring slate, adjust your expectations. And I have to do the same thing sometimes. For example, like last night, John Collins didn't make sense price-wise to play on DraftKings because I felt like you were going to need so many points. And there was plenty of players in that range who could easily exceed him for a million reasons. But on FanDuel, he fit in perfectly at a similar price, but a different position thing, and ended up having a monster game and saved my life on FanDuel.
That was my sweat, by the way, in the world final, in the finals, whatever that was, in the championship. It was a Collins lineup that was in there.
Yeah, I was first, second, third in the monster almost the whole night until the end.
What?
The whole night. It was 100,000, 25,000 because I had Collins. I had some good stuff on that lineup. I had Collins with Luka and whatever, and everybody was hitting, but didn't quite get there in the end. Obviously. Anyway, let's get into tonight. We will talk a little FanDuel at the end. DraftKings wise,
dude, it's a nice compact slate. We got time. Oh, we only got 40 minutes. We got time. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. All right, so let's start it off with Toronto Boston. One of the best games on the slate, maybe the best game on the slate. Just in terms of that, I'm obsessed with two players in this game, and it's going to be hard to keep them off my rosters on FanDuel.
FanDuel, interesting. Okay.
I'm sorry, on DraftKings. Excuse me, DraftKings.
So I have, and I'm just looking right now. And the reason why I know this is going to be kind of kind of low scoring slate is usually when I rank my guys by points per dollar. Usually the first 5 or 6 guys are going to be kind of like cheap value guys. That's just the way it is, right? That those are usually the best point per dollar guys. And that doesn't mean they're always good plays, but that's just what, because they're low prices, it's hard to get like a high price guy, whatever. But when my top guys are kind of like more expensive, that means usually that it's gonna be a low scoring slate because that means there's really not a lot of value to let you get into like, the big studs, whatever. So all that's my way of saying that of the top 5, one of them is from this game, and that is going to be Jaylen Brown. I don't know if that's the guy that you were getting at, but he is one of my top rated plays overall on the whole slate. And he is indeed from this game. And if I had to rank other Boston guys, I would say Tatum would be next. Tatum and Kemba. I'm afraid to look and see what Kemba's on FanDuel. He's like under 6K.
Yeah, he's free on FanDuel. He's 55.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'll look at that separately. And on Toronto, yeah, sure. I like Lowry. I mean, I don't know. I like Lowry over Van Vliet. I like I'm always like this, and I think I like Siakam over. Do I come over all of them? I don't know. I like them similar, Siakam and Lowry. So for me, I have Brown as an elite play on the whole slate, and the other guys I have just kind of okay. So you tell me what you like.
Yeah, I think Lowry's an awesome play. It's funny. We had a guy in our Discord who wrote, "Oh, thank goodness!" After he wrote it the first quarter. Anybody who ever writes anything at the end of the first quarter of the NBA game, you're almost always going to be. I swear, it gets punished every time. We had a guy complain about Plumlee the other day. I can't believe I played him. How did I listen to this? And I played Plumlee. Next thing you know, Plumlee scores 45 fantasy points.
Dude, listen. We had there was this total idiot, Bobby. It's like so funny. There's this guy I know who thinks he's like really smart sometimes. He texted at halftime of the Washington game. He said Westbrook is obviously having a bad game. He's like dead, right? And then a smarter person said, "Dude, don't even worry about it. He's probably going to end up being just fine on DraftKings." And this really dumb person said, "Okay, sure." And the really dumb person was wrong. The really smart person, Bobby, was right. And if you couldn't read between the lines, the really dumb person was Eric. And Eric has made that mistake many, many times with guys like this. It was either Westbrook. And one time I remember I had like 3 fantasy points with Draymond Green at the half and I was whining. And you're like, don't even worry about it. He scored like 40 in the second half with like 4 real life points. So like some of these guys just don't worry about it at the half.
Yeah, and by the way, if they could have got a stop or two, both Westbrook and Lowry would have played off monster. I mean, after a combined 4 fantasy point first quarter or something, Westbrook and Lowry would have ended up, having 100 plus.
Yep.
So anyway, I love Lowry. I just think the other guys are a little bit priced up more than I want to go. I don't think Siakam's a terrible play. I'm curious to see if they do anything on the back-to-back. So just keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
Terrence Davis has looked really, if there is anything, Terrence Davis has looked really good in the limited minutes. So if anything like a Lowry or a Van Vliet or something, my guess is they play everybody because it's not only a rivalry, but they're sort of desperate to keep winning games. That's one great thing about this shortened season sheets that I didn't think I would love so much is that it really has forced people to try and play their best basketball. And we'll get into it in a couple other games, actually in the next game, because there's a guy in that game that we talked about it. He's playing a different level of basketball because he knows he has to carry his team to wins right now. But I think mostly it's Brown. I do like Tatum and Walker also. I don't think I'm going to play all of them together, but we've seen these games against Toronto get hiked up. As of right now, I'm planning on just playing Brown and Lowry in this game, but I don't mind any of the other pieces. Tatum, I would rank it Walker, then Tatum, and then I would put on Toronto. I would say Siakam, followed by Boucher and then Van Vliet.
Well, it's interesting you say that about the teams really need to play to win, and I heard that somewhere else also in a different way that the fear of maybe the season being cut short, with people that they don't even know how long the season's going to be, sort of. So, so at any point they can say, okay, this is the cutoff, right?
Right, that's true. But also there's only 72 games to begin with. And you have the 7-10 play-in game and the 8-9 play-in game. So you want to stay away from that. So now everybody's playing for the top 6, which is actually making it a much more entertaining season. And you've got guys who don't usually play on back-to-backs playing back-to-backs and stuff. So it's kind of fun. All right, well, let's jump over to Miami, Houston. Do you have any?
Yeah, my favorite play on the slate is a guy that's going to be 30% owned in the worst matchup. So good luck to me. So John Wall, to me is my favorite point per dollar point guard on the slate. I don't know if he's my favorite point guard actually, but I like him a lot. I presume he plays, obviously. And I don't know why I'd want somebody playing against Miami, but again, this is the way the slate's just kind of like stacking up tonight, I suppose. So I like him, and then nothing. I don't know, maybe Bam on Miami.
Well, so the guy I was referring to initially was Jimmy Butler, who's playing.
Ooh.
He's playing at that same playoff type of thing where he's taking over games, and it's not that he doesn't scoring. First of all, he gets fouled. He takes 10 free throws plus a game. He's taken 15 and 12 the last 2 games. He's had 10 and 9 assists in the last 2 games. 8 and 10 rebounds. He's all over the place, and I just think he's really solid when they really run the offense through him, and that's without Dragic. That's what they're doing. I mean, you see the assists. He hasn't had less than 9 assists in 4 games since Dragic has been out, basically. And honestly, 2 of those games were blowouts. He could have easily gotten well into the double digits. So Jimmy Butler feels like he has a very high floor with a decent ceiling, even though even though Houston's defense has been, obviously noted for being much better and the best since Harden's been gone. They've not only slacked a little bit, they do play a little bit faster than people might think, especially when they've been somewhat healthy. And I'm curious to see who ends up playing for them tonight. That's the truth. Like I assume that they're going to play everybody, Oladipo, Wall, and everything, but I don't know for sure. We've seen them mix it up because of the trying to get the rest and everything. I do like Bam. I think Bam is going to be the overlooked guy here, and it's just hard for me to see how he doesn't destroy a matchup with a guy like Cousins. I really don't see how he doesn't.
He really is the worst.
And defensively, I don't see how he doesn't. But the thing is, Bam is also like, he's sort of the Jimmy. The problem with playing Bam in this situation is Bam plays that Jimmy role. He's the guy who's getting assists out of the front court. They run the offense through him. You look before early, not only when Jimmy was out, but the assists 9, 5, 6, 7, 4, 6. And then now with Jimmy taking over 2, 3, it's at 5. It's not quite the same guy. Not to mention he's not cleaning up the boards quite as much because they're putting him on the best defender. He'll get plenty of chances tonight because Cousins will play down low and outside. And Houston's sloppy. So I like both of them. As of right now, I would put Butler slightly ahead of Bam, but I don't know that I'm going to end up with that same decision at the end of the day, especially factoring in that I'm expecting people to play Butler a lot. And
not as much as and again, same thing as before. It's so funny, the same dude also. Like RG is like light years ahead of the other 3 as far as ownership projection.
I'm not just talking about I'm talking about my own personal projections.
Yeah, I mean they'll play him. I mean I don't know how to make ownership projections honestly. I can just kind of gauge.
He's been even in the worst matchups. He's been like 40% on big slates, 35% because people are onto it. I mean, look, he's put up 44.5 or more in 6 straight games since coming back. He's put up 50 in 3 of those games. He's coming off 56. It just feels like there's no question he's gonna have some ownership. And I just think so if Bam gets overlooked, I don't mind switching to Bam, but I would say that I think that Butler is the better play. Bam can always go nuts, but Butler's the better play from we're going to run the offense through you kind of a way.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about John Wall or anybody else in Houston?
So the interesting thing what's weird is I've watched John Wall play a lot this year, and I've been really impressed by how he looks physically. He looks incredible with the ball. His movement looks good. His cuts look good. He's sharp. And he's not really killing these fantasy slates. So when he's going to be the massive chalk, and I think he's going to end up being more than 30% probably, or possibly, I'm sort of looking for ways to avoid it in a terrible matchup. One guy who doesn't seem like anyone's going to own him, and I don't even know for sure that he's going to play, is Oladipo. So there's your pivot right there. I don't see any problem with just playing Oladipo over Wall. For one, he probably has a slightly higher minutes limit. I do like Wall in terms of regular. Just if they were the same price, I think Wall probably scores a little bit more often here, but maybe not. It's pretty close. But the real thing is what do we do with Cousins? Because he's 6,900. I know he's let everyone down. If it was any other matchup, I would just say, okay, we're just loading him up on him. It's a small slate. We're going to just take the variance. He had some rough games. It was back-to-back 3 and 4 nights, all that. He had a day of rest now. But I don't know, man. It feels kind of weird to play him against Bam. So I'm going to have to, we'll revisit that on our later show, I guess, because I'm still sort of stuck between these guys.
Yeah, I'm off of him.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, it makes sense. But if no one else is the only, like, what if he ends up being 12% owned or something? You don't think he could put up 45 against these guys? Well, the more I think about it, it just, I don't know. We'll get back. Well, let's revisit that one because I need to see the rest of this slate first.
Yeah, you're gonna have to match Embiid 70. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, okay.
I'm just throwing it out there. Or Vooch's 60 or whatever it is.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you want to move on?
Yeah, let's do Indy Detroit.
I like the two main guys from Indiana. I like the three main guys from this game. I think I like Sabonis. I like Brogdon, and I like Jeremy Grant. I think they're nothing particularly earth-shattering about any of them. They're all going to be high. We say high double digits. They're all going to be approaching 20%. It's a short slate, so you'll get ownership throughout. But I don't know. I think it could be a competitive game. I know where the usage is coming from, and I think that you could play. I don't know if I play both Sabonis and Brogdon in the same lineup, but I could play Grant against Grant and Brogdon, Grant and Sabonis, something like that. I think they're very, very reasonable, and I guess more to the point is I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else. I don't think I'm going to play Plumlee coming off the ceiling game just on principle, and I don't know, just pretty basic for me.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by what's happening in Indy. They're playing pretty slow. They're playing pretty poorly. And I can't really place why exactly, what exactly has changed. But I do think Brogdon is the best player on the team. And I would prefer Brogdon straight up over John Wall even on the back-to-back. I think I would take him by a pretty good amount. Indy's struggling, and Detroit, this is a 2.5 point spread of a game that could have been like a 10.5 point spread a few weeks ago, and I don't know, just something intriguing to me about going for the, Detroit, again, they don't play fast, but they do play terrible defense. So right. I like Brogdon first. I like Sabonis second. I don't mind if you want to play Miles Turner. I know he's been just ripping souls out with how bad he's been. But Detroit is, again, I know I said this about Brooklyn, and it's true, even though he had a terrible game. And I think that this is a great kind of matchup for him. So Miles Turner is definitely on my list, but I don't know where I'll end up with on him in general. On the Detroit side, man, it's kind of hard not to want to play Jeremy Grant. Don't really have much more to add to it than that. It doesn't really... He's getting the usage. He's putting up monster games. Usage has been, above 25% now, 4 games in a row, 29%, 27%, 27% the last 2. Jeremy Grant, I agree with you about, if you're going to play Plumlee, in my opinion, I think you should just play the other side of it. I know Plumlee's been better in production lately, but Turner is the best defensive center, or one of the best defensive centers. Right now, the leading candidate probably for defensive player of the year, one of them. And I don't know that I don't know what we're playing Plumlee for exactly over him, except for that he's put up big numbers lately. And this is not a good matchup for Plumlee at all. And I don't know. So I'm off of Plumlee. And I think we could play Blake Griffin though. Just again, it's a price.
Really?
It's a price enforced thing. I mean, look, why the other night on a 9-game slate?
Is he under 5K on FanDuel yet?
No, he's 5'3". 5'1". 5'1". Okay. But why would we play him at 5K against Brooklyn the other night?
Because it's against Brooklyn.
But Detroit is like the worst defensive team. Detroit's efficiency defensively is worse. And actually for Blake Griffin, I'm sorry, he's on the other side. Indy, while they're good defensively, they play slow. And Blake Griffin is not like a track meet is maybe not his best thing. What I'm looking at that I feel optimistic about is he played the minutes. If he plays 30 minutes at 5,300, I feel pretty okay with him. So I'm not like, these are not locking in. I'll refresh my favorite plays at the end, but Blake Griffin is definitely on my board. And I don't think I'm going to get to DeLon Wright in this matchup, but I will be looking out for him in other matchups. He's looked really, really good in real life lately. Really good. Well, one thing that may happen here is DSJ. We might actually get some DSJ run. I'm not saying you got to play him, but we'll be playing DSJ very soon.
if they announce, like, they could do this. You know,
Announce
they could start DSJ.
Why not? Like if I'm them, they should start DSJ.
They could start DSJ just so we can see what 100% owned guy looks like, right?
And we could see what 100% owned failing guy looks like. I kind of like it better if they don't start him.
Yep.
I mean, you've got a lot of usage on that starting thing now with Blake Griffin and Jeremy Grant and DeLon Wright. Like, I'd rather him not play with those guys if it was up to me.
Well, hold on a minute. Let's think about this for a second. Frank Jackson is doubtful.
Oh, they have so many bodies, man. We don't need to worry about that. It's only because
hang on. Killian Hayes is out. Frank Jackson is doubtful. I'm just curious when DeLon Wright comes, and remember, and Derrick Rose is gone, right?
Right.
So when DeLon Wright comes out of the game, who's the point guard?
Josh Jackson, Dennis Smith, and honestly, Blake Griffin plays the point guard at the point forward. But Josh Jackson.
Nah, I'm in. I'm gonna play some of this.
I mean, just so you know, Josh Jackson's been playing point for them.
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna play some of this.
I'm into it too. I mean,
I'm totally gonna play some of it. I mean,
it's too on brand for us not to do it.
I mean, but not even that. I mean, why trade for them? Trade for him and not play him when two of your other point guards are out.
Yeah, we just got to worry about minutes and all that stuff like that. Like, what would maybe he hasn't played. He's played 9 minutes this season or something. Or no, he had a 17-minute game. I just don't know what kind of condition he's even in or anything like that. I'll dig further. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
I'll dig further into that one. But I do think you're right. That's an interesting play.
All right. So one of the reasons why, John Wall and nobody's, I could fade him, whatever. These next two games, there are other options you could play. Like, for example, like Orlando, Golden State. I mean, two of my top three plays. I mean, nothing earth-shattering on the slate. The two studs in this game, like Vooch and Curry. I like them both like a lot. It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to play them. I mean, price-wise, which is, again, why this is going to be a tough slate, I think, to get that many points. But I certainly like both of them. And that's the problem with the slate, is that I don't like value all that much, So, yeah, I like Vooch, and I like Curry. And if you want to play Wiggins at 6,200, try it. But those are my two favorites.
Mm-hmm. Vooch is a great, I like him again. Great play. I don't see why he's going to stop smashing anytime soon. Pretty much the only time he hasn't lately, I think, was that back-to-back. So, and the blowout against the Clippers before that. But yeah, I think that I think Vooch is obviously a great play. Makes a lot of sense to be your main center tonight. And that's where I am. I don't really, I need to know about Fournier before I decide anything else with this team. And you're right. This is kind of an ugly-ish slate where a guy like Fournier might even be in play.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be open to some of the other stuff we played before, even Terrence Ross or Frank Mason, and possibly. I still don't know if I would get to too much of it. And then we also need to know about Cole Anthony. I don't know what's happening with these guys, so I feel like we really need to try and figure out more as the day goes on. My guess is right now that they're probably planning on playing, but I would bet somebody sits. And then you've got even Aminu coming off the injury. Like, just in terms of minutes, I just want to know what's going to end up happening here. So it's a little tricky to try and figure out. And it's a road game, so I kind of feel like we might know a little bit sooner rather than later who's expected to play or not. Although I have to double check my schedule real quick and see if they are playing on a back-to-back, because if they're playing a back-to-back there, it could change that information. Yeah, I mean, because we may not, there's a chance we may not know about this right away. It looks like tomorrow, no, they're not playing tomorrow anyway.
I'm telling you, man, unless you get some Dennis Smith Jr. value open up or something like that, it's not a lot. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to make lineups, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with like a 30% on Danny Green or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a lot. It is hard to try to find the value. On the Golden State side, who did you say you were interested in? I'm sorry.
Yes, Wiggins, I suppose. I mean, Curry, great. I'd love to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what to do with these guys.
Is that dude still in play every day? Oh,
Curry's in play.
No, I meant Toscano Anderson.
Dude, you know what? This guy might actually, he's pretty good. I actually like him as a real life player, but I mean, maybe at 5,100, you don't need that much on this slate. He's okay. I think he's okay. I would really like him if anybody else was announced out or something, but
Right.
you know, you could get those minutes up to 34 or something. But I think he's in play. I don't know what to do with this side. I guess the answer for me probably would be we've seen guards light up Orlando lately. Maybe you just play Curry.
Yeah, just can't quite figure out how. But
Well, because there's another guy who I actually want to play above him. So we'll get to that. You want to go to the next one? Because I actually don't. I feel like Golden State feels like a mishmash, but nobody stands out to me as being like an especially good play. But at the same time, on this slate, just getting those 30 fantasy points might be okay from Oubre or Wiggins. Maybe you just pay down a little bit and play Toscano Anderson, who's basically putting up similar fantasy production.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you right now. I am. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to end up. Boy, oh boy, I'm gonna end up fading Danny Green. That's what's gonna end up. And you saying like, oh, so what? Big deal. He's gonna end up. I'm telling you, he's gonna end up being the only value on this slate. I don't want to play him. What I'd love to do one of three things, and one of them is going to be. Two of them are going to be probably. One's going to be chalky. One's not going to be as chalky. One might end up being ignored. We'll see. But I like Lillard. Not the greatest matchup in the world, but him at home in a competitive, you know what I mean? Like I'm not too worried about the matchup in general. I'd like to be able to play Embiid. That would be really nice. Good luck, Cantor. Whatchamacallit, trying to guard him again. But then, and this is not my type of guy, but with if you don't want to play Wall, if you don't want to play all these other chalkier point guards, why don't you try freaking Ben Simmons? I mean, Portland plays no defense at all, and Simmons is going to be able to get to the rim. Maybe he'll be able to get some steals too. I don't know. Maybe again, this would probably be not the first time. I played Simmons before, but I think he's going to be. I don't think people are going to play him, and probably for good reason. I mean, look. If you want to play him at small forward, right, you're giving up a much better play of Jaylen Brown. You're giving up a much better play of Jimmy Butler, so no one's going to play him there. If you want to play him at point guard, you're giving up Wall. You're giving up the other guy we said, Lowry. You're giving up whatever. So I think he could end up being completely ignored. And at 10 o'clock at night, when that won't help his ownership either. So I will maybe I'll try him. That could be my 5-game slate off the board.
Love the Simmons call. Absolutely, totally agree. So let's just take this in, think about it. This is one way I look at things, especially on these small slates. Just take really, really dumb basic information. So Ben Simmons averages 40 fantasy points a game on DraftKings, okay? So he's basically almost at 5X anyway. You add the ceiling type of matchup. Meanwhile, you're down a couple wings, and it's really just up to you and Embiid, who they're going to probably double. I'm completely into it. I don't know what else to say. I think he's a terrific play, and I think that he's going to be underowned. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Embiid at this price, even though I like the idea of it. I think I would rather take shots and hope that, like a little bit cheaper, hope that Curry or Lillard go on one of their crazy streaks. That's where I'm at. And I also want to say, like, something about people are funny. People forgot how good Steph Curry is. Like, it's hilarious to me that people are having conversations of, well, we've been wrong this whole time. Is Dame Lillard? Imagine what he would have done with that Warriors team. Steph Curry is one of the 25 best players in the history of the NBA. Damian Lillard's great. He's not at that same level. In terms of tonight's matchups and situations, I prefer Damian Lillard. But I like the Lillard. I like what you were mentioning. I just wanted to throw that out there because I feel like some people are so, what have you done for me lately, or so caught up in the immediate movement. When we were talking to Crane yesterday, one thing that stuck with me afterwards that I was thinking about is one of the biggest advantages you can have in some of these games is really being able to realize that this groupthink mentality and this overwhelming reaction to these things that have just happened the night before, the week before, the last 3 games, or whatever it is, those are just all individual circumstances. In basketball, it's a very fluid game. Things can work out very differently from game to game. And you want to look at long-term, unless you really feel like a guy's injured or something's wrong there. I mean, anyway, it's sort of all over the place a little bit, but I,
Well,
I like
what was the point you were going to make regarding it was going to be regarding Lillard?
No, I just no, wait, which part?
No, why'd you bring that up with respect to this game?
Because I just feel like, well, because Lillard and Curry and I don't know, we were just I was sort of thinking between the two of them because they're similar priced and they're both in these last game slots. But I just want to say, like I just think that, you know, we look at all these things that Lillard's got, and I like Lillard better, like at first glance tonight. But when I start thinking about ownership and who's really going to go off, I mean, if I look at their even just the game log part of it, Curry looks at a much better tournament play every night. He's got the better matchup. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that Dame Lillard is probably going to be like 10 times the ownership or 8 times the ownership of Curry. And maybe it's not as good of a reason as we all think. Curry has 70 in him every time he steps on the court. Lillard is yeah, he can get there too, but it's not the same exact route. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know exactly what my point is. I just am saying they're closer than people think, even for tonight, even though I did initially have Lillard higher. I'm starting to think if I get no ownership on Dame, maybe no ownership on Steph. I think that's what I might end up doing instead. Who's going to guard him? Cole Anthony? You know?
The same person that's always going to guard him. Nobody. I mean, like, you can't guard him.
No, but at least with Damian Lillard, like, you can make an argument that Ben Simmons is out there, you know, or Danny Green, like excellent perimeter defenders. Mike Matisse Thybulle, these guys are all awesome defenders. Whereas, you know, Curry's going to have Cole Anthony and who? You know, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about like that. But I do overall think Lillard should have a higher expectation here. I just think that Dame that Steph might be the better. It's just a better tournament play.
Okay. So you want to go over to Fan? You want to recap?
Yeah.
You want to go over to FanDuel or
go to FanDuel?
Okay. So I'm going to do is I'm going to what I did is I listed it actually by just overall positions. I just want to see where I was at. So at point guard, and we alluded to this before, and I want to really focus in on the plays that are not going to say specific to FanDuel, but that really, I guess, just kind of really stand out on FanDuel. And one of them we alluded to earlier is Kemba. Kemba's 5,500. He's going to be, I mean, you know, obviously really popular, but yeah, so we'll get to that later. So he's definitely the best point guard play. The other ones, like I said, Brogdon remains good. If you want to pivot, and this is a really nasty pivot. Boy, yeah, it's not unlikely to work, but if it does, the same price at 1/3 the ownership is you can play Cole Anthony at 5,400 also. So you can try that.
If he plays, yeah.
If he, well, if he plays, or again, you can play Lillard. So those are the main guys, as far as I'm concerned. So there's Lillard, good spend up, obviously. Then Brogdon, then Kemba, then Cole Anthony as the pivot.
Yeah, yeah, I've got Brogdon.
Would you do Simmons here or no?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
But I would prefer, you know, somewhere between Brogdon, Lowry, Kemba, and then you get the Lillard and what's his name thing, Steph thing. Steph is, you know, even higher priced over here, but it doesn't really matter that much with him. It really doesn't. He can put up, you know, he's going to end up around 50, and then he can also put up 75. That's what you're dealing with. Brogdon and Kemba do stand out, but I think that playing Lowry over Brogdon is just a way that I would consider going. Just you have probably 5 times the ownership on Brogdon that you will on Lowry, and honestly, if you look at their just game log watch and every single other thing, and it basically says it lends itself to Lowry to me. So I don't mind playing Lowry over Brogdon.
Shooting guard is really weak. I mean, it usually is. I mean, just relative to value. Again, but again, like the values are pretty bad everywhere. I mentioned Wiggins a little bit on DraftKings. He's fine. I mean, again, there's no real huge standout for me. Like, I guess the one guy I would say, and he's going to get owned through the roof too, is Seth Curry. I mean, he's Seth Curry. He's like 4K, right? He's like 4,100 over here. One other guy who is Tyler Hero at 5,800. It's a nasty position.
It really is.
Yeah, so that's where you want to tell your grandchildren you played 9,300 Fred Van Vliet? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe in a different matchup I would do that. I don't think I'm going to do it in this against Boston here, but yeah, this is ugly. It does bring up some guys that I probably should have mentioned. Like Korkmaz is there's a pivot. I mean, I would play Korkmaz ahead of Danny Green on DraftKings. I don't know if I'll get to him over here, but yeah, I mean Curry, Hero. This is my order: Curry, Hero, Oladipo, Ross. Those are pretty much my guys. I don't really have a lot of other interest. I actually think Oladipo just. I'm not really sure why no one. I mean, maybe she's. I know it's early in the day and stuff, but it feels like no one's interested in Oladipo. I know he's had kind of some dud games in there, but they've also been a part of some blowouts and stuff. I feel like he still has a ceiling at this price, even in
I think people were even. They're also saying, what, I didn't play him when he didn't even get there with Wall out. How is he going to get there?
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably what's happening. So maybe that's actually it's just an argument to consider him still.
Small forward, again, you want to pay up, you go right back to Jaylen Brown. Again, he's going to look really expensive compared to what he is in DraftKings, but I mean, we're dealing with what we're dealing with, right? So he's fine. $9,600 Pascal Siakam. Yeah, they're making it rough, man. They're putting Danny Green to 3,700. Woo-wee. It's tough. It's tough. So the guy okay, you don't want to be too whatever. You could play Kelly Oubre. Now again, it's all relative. Like none of these guys are particularly cheap, right? So it's going to depend how construction leads. So I don't know if I'll play Wiggins and Oubre, for example, in the same lineup necessarily. But they're both kind of okay. Obviously different positions. So Oubre, Duncan Robinson, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best I could. Danny Green, 3,700. I guess I have to play it. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll play Duncan Robinson at 4,300. Danny Green's fine. I actually think Danny Green over here, that's fine. But I think that Jimmy Butler is the obvious play. And I think that Jimmy Butler's going to be more popular than Brown, but you can play both of them. You can play either of them. I have no problem with playing Brown over Butler, but I actually think you can just play both of them here. And you could overpay for Jeremy Grant. And I think that's not the worst way to go either.
At power forward, I think it's like the only position where the guy is where I would expect him to be, and that's Sabonis. Actually, that's not true. Tatum, I guess, given what he can do, is where I would expect him to be, I suppose. So even though Sabonis 9,300, like, where's the value there? I mean, it's relative, man. I don't know where I can find better. I mean, I don't know. Would you prefer Bam over Sabonis?
At first glance, no, but that's partially because I'm more interested. I mean, the matchup's better for Sabonis. He's more consistent with his production. I do think you'll get an ownership discount on Bam, somewhat. Well, no, I actually think they're going to be about the same. They should be and Tatum shouldn't be far behind them. I would rank Sabonis ahead of the other two, but I don't feel like I have a strong take on it, a strong lean. I would just rank him slightly ahead of the other two.
Maybe you put PJ Tucker. Maybe put PJ Tucker at 3,700.
Yeah, or Blake Griffin at 5,100. I don't think I'm gonna play PJ Tucker personally, but I mean I get it because it's that kind of an ugly slate. It's a PJ Tucker kind of slate, isn't it, Sheets? Whether he gets there or not doesn't matter. It's that slate where you're trying to find that other thing you can do, and maybe you have to play PJ Tucker that thing.
It's where PJ Tucker scores 12 fantasy points and you win the slate.
Yeah. Or you could take the super long shot play for the guy who produces basically the same in 14 minutes every day as Harry Giles. But
back to the Giles, okay.
No, I mean I'm not saying play him. I'm just saying if you're going to play PJ Tucker, like you could,
right.
They're the same thing. Tucker gets all the minutes.
Yeah.
Giles does the production in less minutes. So you can take a flip for those guys. But I think mostly it's going to be focused around Griffin, Sabonis, Tatum, and a Bam. It's just I'm probably going to end up playing more Butler on FanDuel. So Bam might be the odd man out, unfortunately.
So who do you like more in center? And these are the only choices. So to me, there's two ways you can go. One, you pay all the way up for Embiid or Vooch, and I guess I really can't distinguish between the two. I mean, you have to tell me which is a better play. Or you could go down to Cousins and Cantor. And they're both similar prices. I guess right now, I mean, these are all who the own guys are going to be. So maybe, so maybe we're supposed to play Miles Turner after all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe that's the idea.
I think so.
Oh, there you go, huh?
I
So,
mean, whatever.
so I like Cantor. I think he's going to vary. I think Cantor and Cousins are going to be projected similarly and owned similarly. I think the same thing goes with Vooch and Embiid. Maybe Turner is the way to get off of all of it.
Yeah, I mean Turner can put up 30 just with blocks and steals. You know? So as an upside play with no ownership, even if he just gets to 40 overall, like you're fine here because it's his differentiating position. But I do think that Cantor Cantor is probably where I would lean. Cantor and Cousins both are both fine here, but I think I guess Cousins I'd give the slight edge to, but Cantor at 6,500 does feel kind of cheap. And then I think I would consider playing Vooch ahead of Embiid at lower ownership too. Although I think they'll both be owned somewhat. But yeah, I think for me it's Cantor, Cousins are my first look guys, with Turner as the pivot if my lineup's too chalky.
350 on FanDuel, 300 on DraftKings. That's my.
Oh, that's what you need tonight, huh?
Those are really low estimates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think 300's won on DraftKings. I mean, definitely not this year, but not in a while. And I don't think 350's won on FanDuel in a while either. So
yeah, you might be right.
That's where I am. That's what I am predicting. So what do you do about that? I mean, what that means is that again, you just realize that like if your lineups feel like, oh boy, I don't have that much value. It's no one else does either. You know what I mean? So anything else?
No, I think we're good. Guys, hopefully that was helpful. Just real quick, I'll do a 10 seconds of my just guys who I'm playing the most on DraftKings. Lillard, Lowry, Bam, Cousins, Brogdon, DSJ, Brown, Vucevic. These are just the guys who I highlighted from our thing. Ben Simmons, Steph Curry, both Currys actually. Those are the guys who I just highlighted from this conversation, and I will be back with you guys at 6:30 Eastern to try and help you figure out the final part.
All right, see you guys later.